I just played 10 hours straight of No Rest for the Wicked, completed what is basically the campaign. There's some side stuff I still have to do, but I fought the main bosses, got to the point where you like unlock the rest of the game, basically. And so this is going to be a first impression video. I'm going to tell you, is it fun? Things I like about it, things I don't like about it. This is not a sponsored video. They did not pay me to make this video. However, I do have an affiliate link that gives you a discount and also pays me if you buy the game through it. So transparency stuff out of the way. If you want to use that link, it's down below in case you do decide to buy it. But I'm going to be honest about how I feel about the game. In fact, this is going to probably be titled a brutally honest review because there are things that people will not like about the game, and I think there was some marketing failures as well in the game, even though overall I do quite like the game. So let's talk about all those things and get going. First thing, character creator's all right, nothing too special. Couple presets here. Yes, you can do the face, the hair, the hairstyles, the eyes, the distance, the nose. It's okay, and for the most part, your guy's just going to look like a human though. This is what I ended up making my guy look like. A little bit of a ginger beard looking dude there. You create these things called realms. These are effectively like your savings for your server or your planet, whatever you want to call it. Okay, this is basically your instance for that world. It's important to keep in mind that the world progresses as the story progresses, which is saved in the instance. So if you wanted to like go back and fight all the noob stuff to make a new character or something, you probably want to like make a new realm. For instance, if I make a brand new character and then log on to the realm in which I've already completed a good chunk of the game, then it is going to be scaled and be more difficult. You see there's no intro or anything. Look at this. It says it's deadly here, which is sort of the rating for the area. That's because these guys are not the guys that spawn at the start of the game. So just keep that in mind. New character, you're going to want a new realm. Or if you take, for instance, like your super strong character, then make a new realm, you'll just be farming everything easy. Character and realm progression are separate, in other words. I actually rather like this, to be honest, because this means I can mix match whatever I want. Make a character, progress the character, go to a realm that's early, later on, whatever. And also it brings with you your gear. So if I make a new realm, I can go there, farm that realm. If I really wanted to, then go back to the other realm. So you can kind of do some min-maxing there if that's something you care about. However, this does mean if you make a new character, you're going to need to do a new realm, and making a new character is something you might end up needing to do. That is because the way that they do the game, if you actually look at your stats, etc., your stats cannot be respect, at least not in the way I've found. So if you make like a strength character with a two-handed axe or something like that, you're going to be locked to that. In fact, that's what happened with my character. I'll show you. Here is my character. He has 30 dexterity, 11 strength, 20 health. That means that I can use the dexterity items that have high dexterity requirement, and my gear that scales with dexterity can be used with this character. However, I cannot equip any of the strength-based gear or anything like that. This was actually kind of annoying in the game because what would happen was both of the legendary drops I got as I was completing the game, these are strength-based items. Oh shit, I got a legendary two-hand, boys. Dude, can I undo my build, please? How do I unlevel up? I want to respec. So I am using basically the tutorial dagger all the way through the game, because that was the dex item I got. Every single dex item I got, the katana, the scimitar, and the daggers, were all like basic ones that I needed to upgrade. It's not the end of the world. I was able to upgrade this, and still I actually feel like the daggers are pretty strong. I'll be quite honest with the combo I got, which I'll explain in just a moment. But just keep in mind that as you play through the game in the beginning, you might want to be careful when you spend your points. That being said, not really a big deal. This is something that's fairly standard with these types of games. You can see here, if I put points, I'm going to put more points in the dexterity. You can see it ups the attribute bonus of my scimitar and short bow. If I put one more there, it's going to do the Brother's Keeper, which is my dagger. And these attribute bonuses are basically going to give us more damage, etc., and just make the items better. So that's sort of how it works. Each of these different items are going to have different stats associated with them: strength, intelligence, faith, whatever, and requirements associated with them, as you can see here, and they will scale based upon that stat. This was more or less how the class system works in the game. There's no class system. When you create your character, you're not creating a cleric. You are picking up equipment and putting onto it, almost like Albion Online, where you are what you wear. If you're familiar with that game, it's very similar in here, and your specialization all comes from your stat base, which means because I'm choosing to play with a bow in one hand and a scimitar in the other, this is what the gameplay looks like. Here you go. Went to a dangerous area, and you can see here, he's going to throw fire grenades at me. There's the scimitar. I can also swap to my daggers, which I like the daggers quite a bit. They're my favorite weapon here. And that's sort of what the gameplay style looks like. I'm going to swap back to the bow and then use the bow, which uses my focus bar that I build up from attacking. And this is sort of my build that I went with. Now you're going to notice I'm getting plus health. And that's because there's some cool parts in this game where there's different style of items. So you have like common items, which is like normal items you can build and slot like gems into or runes, etc., which basically change upon what abilities your items have. For instance, I have a dash ability and also a heal ability on my dagger that I have put into the dagger. And there's 4 of those spots available with just like the basic item here. And there's also like a modifier, like you notice I have a gem there that says gain 1 stamina on damage dealt. This is very good because the dagger is just like constantly dealing damage. So I'm like rapidly replenishing my stamina, which lets me just be able to spam basically. So you can kind of, while your character doesn't have a class, you can build sort of a class that you want based upon what you do with your gear. Like you're going to notice here, I have this ring. It decreases my max health by 22, but I gain 2% health when I deal damage. Well, because I'm constantly rapidly attacking, I'm getting stamina and health back all of the time. And then my gear increases how much I'm being healed for. So you can do light armor, heavy armor, medium armor, basically, and do builds based upon that. So I'm fast, I'm healing all the time because of the ring, and now I'm getting my stamina back, and that's because of this other ring I have, and the rings are passive. So you can basically build like the style of combat you really want, depending. I could go with the two-handed Giga Chad axe if I really wanted to and do slow over-the-head combat, but I really found myself liking both the scimitar, the daggers, as well as the katana, and just cycling between that. So I basically built a vampire leeching rogue. So because of that, I have fast movement speed or fast rolls, etc. If you look here in the bottom right, you can see that there's like fast. If I put on something that's heavier, for instance, it's going to change. Here, let me put on something else here. It's going to change what of course, I have only light stuff. But basically, as you put on other gear, it's going to make it fast roll, heavy roll, normal roll, just like Elden Ring. You're familiar with that. You see, I have quick step because I'm light. So the first reason I'm explaining this now is because some of the points I was seeing in the feedback in the chat is like, I wish I could build a class. I wish I could pick like a druid or something. Well, you kind of can. There's even magic in the game. You just have to build it based upon the gear you find, the attributes you pick, and then build it. I knew from the start of the game I wanted to play with daggers. So I just went faux dex until I got daggers, built up the daggers, and I was able to play with daggers. You just have to decide what you want and commit to that, and you're basically going to be making a new character if you want to build a different class. Sort of how the character and the realm works. So let's actually talk about the gameplay now. The gameplay itself is actually like quite enjoyable. I was surprised to hear that some people were not happy with what the gameplay actually ended up looking like. And I think that's because, this is where I'm going to get into some criticals of it, I think the marketing was sort of a failure. I don't think this is anything like a Path of Exile or Diablo. Maybe slightly in items, but I would say just slightly. This isn't like those types of ARPGs. This felt to me like Fable, Elden Ring, which isn't actually a bad thing. I like both of those games. And the game itself, I thought, was really enjoyable. And I was hearing from all the other people that were playing it that they were having a good time too. And the only bad feedback I was hearing from people were people that's like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. That was the type of feedback I was receiving from people. Now I'll show you what happens when you die here, because I'm going to die because my HP is low. So when you die, you go back to a whisper, which is sort of like a bonfire, basically. Now you can travel between whatever your last whisper was in the map and the one in town. So you have a back and forth teleport with whatever you touch last, which is this. I was in the Black Trench last, fighting a boss here, for instance. So this is going to be the next fast travel I go to. Now there's currently a glitch in the game, which is actually hilarious, that lets you teleport literally anywhere on the map infinitely, and you do not even have to have discovered the area at all. You click on the left stick and it travels you there. Oh, wait, what? Holy shit, you're not kidding. Okay, that is definitely left in from like a dev mode. What? Oh, no! And all you have to do is have a controller and teleport by clicking in on the left stick. So if I just aim somewhere on the map, it's just going to teleport me there. This is obviously a glitch. I think it's something they left over from probably dev testing, and they forgot just to remove the teleport. But you can literally teleport to the end of the game like level 1 if you wanted to. So I don't know when they're going to fix that, but that should absolutely get fixed. It's probably what we'll talk about a little bit about the early access. There's going to be some visual glitches. There's going to be some stuttering in the game, performance issues for some of the feedback that I was hearing. The game visually does look quite good, so it is quite graphically demanding. The recommended settings on the game are quite high. However, the pros for the game are the combat is very enjoyable. I really, really like the combat. And the boss fights, in my opinion, are spectacular. In fact, you can fight the bosses under geared if you want, and sort of like an Elden Ring's boss, just be good enough at fighting the bosses that you can do it under geared. So I was way under leveled with like the starter equipment, and I ran all the way to one of the like final bosses, and ended up fighting him. In fact, the dev of the game was tweeting out that he was laughing watching me fight it so under-leveled, and I'll show you some of that footage now. Spoiler warning, this is like a final boss. I will not be showing any of the cutscenes, the story, or anything like that, but you will be seeing a boss in the game, and there are not a ton of these things, so just a spoiler warning for those that care. You can skip ahead about a minute. So this is me here fighting one of the basically final bosses in the game. In fact, it is like the final boss. And during this here, I am really underleveled. So I'm getting basically 2 hit at this point. But I learned the fight, and I use the iframes of the dodge roll in order to more or less not eat any of the damage. So that is one thing I really liked about the game, was the ability to actually have that skill seem to matter in the game. It's not just stat-based. You can push progression if you really wanted to. So that's just a heads up if you're really into that sort of thing. The boss fights, learning them felt really good. I actually think that this was, in fact, this is a mechanic where he's like trying to put stuff on the ground permanently, and you put it in the corners so you don't ruin the arena, etc. Sort of like shaper balls, if you're familiar with shaper mechanics. So the boss fights were great. I actually thought they felt fair but difficult and enjoyable, and you can learn them and end up being able to dodge them. So overall, the boss fights were some of the best. Now, one of the questions I got pretty commonly was, can you play with the keyboard and mouse? You can, but the controller, to me, felt infinitely better. The keyboard and mouse didn't feel near as good, in my personal opinion, and I am one of those people that does not like using a controller typically. I massively prefer keyboard and mouse, but with this game, controller felt like the way to go. There's an upgrade system, and basically once you get to town, you're going to have the ability to upgrade the different vendors around you, which will unlock different things. And one of the things you unlock here is basically your ability to upgrade, use the furnace with ores, etc., and then take those ores and be able to upgrade your gear. One thing I liked about this is I can actually go in here and like straight up buy some of the materials I need to upgrade equipment. In case I don't want to go farm these things, I can like farm kills and then use the gold to buy the materials I need to do some of the upgrades, which I actually liked a lot, because personally, I don't really like farming like wood and stone and ore. I don't really like doing those things in these games. So I did find myself being like, oh, that's kind of nice. And then you can see you can upgrade different equipment and get bonuses for that. So that is one thing to keep in mind, is you are going to need to upgrade your equipment. Your gear will literally do like less than half of the damage, and you will take way more damage. That was one thing that I was struggling for a bit, and I was like, okay, I got to go upgrade my equipment. And then I was immediately feeling stronger. There's also infusing, which is basically you take these gems you acquire and you add them onto this. For instance, if I select this one and add it on, what it's going to do is it's going to add attack steal, a bonus for the 15% extra electrical damage, or I could have like the one that gains me stamina on damage dealt, etc. So again, this is how you're going to be building out your character and whatever class style you're picking. The runes here are how you're actually going to go about adding skills on. For instance, this one is healing, this one's a dash. You'll buy the runes from her here, like these here, repair, heal aura, etc. And then you will take these, you will add them onto your pieces of gear, and then that's how you're going to be getting your abilities, which you spend your focus, and you get the focus from building up the combat. You know, just from attacking people, you'll build up your focus, and then you can use them. These were extremely useful for things like boss fights, to be able to like heal over time with it, or the dash. Some of them will like dash backwards, so that way you can avoid an attack, or like the bow, so you can poke from range, etc. So pretty important to actually do this. I was struggling for a bit, and then I started upgrading, started adding the runes on, etc., and all the pieces kind of came together. One of the coolest systems in the game, too, with the gear is that there's like the blue gear, which has less, you can see I have like one gem socket here, right? So you have the blue gear or the unique gear that has like one gem socket, etc. But the standard gear has multiple, so it's kind of a balance. And then you have the cursed gear, which has like these really big good effects that has a negative effect with it. So all of the gear felt like almost all of it was useful. You can kind of craft your own gear from the beginning, continually level it, and add everything on you want with the modifier, or you can have like the blue gear, which is like pretty decent, comes with some modifiers already, and then has some sockets available, or the legendary gear that's like really good, that only has limited sockets. So you can kind of like pick what style. So the gear is not bad, okay? So there's what I'm trying to say. It's not bad. It's not like a selling point of the game, to be honest. I think it's decent. I think it makes me enjoy the game more, but I don't think I'm going to pitch it to you as you should buy the game because of the gear. I think if you were going to buy the game, it's because of the combat being enjoyable. And the gear just modifies your character to make the combat better. One of the things I really didn't enjoy, if I'm being honest, was the repairs. You do have to repair. So if I wanted to like get good and fight a boss over and over and over again, I'm having to come back here and repair my gear because there's a durability system when you die. And yes, there's some gear that has infinite durability, which can be nice, but not all of it. So then I got to come back and I got to repair. And you can see here, I'll have to use 53 already to repair the stuff I have. And that's why I have no money, because I would sit there and I would like, what I would want to do, because I enjoyed it. Like I said, the combat's good. So I want to go fight a boss early and be like, I can beat them early. I can beat the final boss at level 9 or what have you. I can do that, okay? So I would do that, but then I'd have no gear because the gear would break, and then I would have no money to repair it because I've been doing this for like an hour straight, and then I would have to go around the map and farm and pick up some more loot to sell, etc., because the stuff in the map does respawn. So this is the gameplay loop that is sort of forced upon you. So if you decide to skip way ahead, you're eventually going to get retracted back and say either get better gear so you stop dying and your gear doesn't break, or be so good that you can literally wear no gear and dodge everything, or you're going to have to go and farm stuff to get money to repair. So I'm not a big fan of repair mechanics, and I did see some other people complaining about this, but repair mechanics are a common part of games, so it's just more of a personal preference thing. I just really think the visuals are quite astonishing too. Like, I mean, look at the visuals. The lighting is good. The weather effects look pretty good. Every now and then there's a visual bug or something associated with it. I would say, well, that's because it's early access, but I don't really like using that excuse for stuff. There is some, bugs on the rare occasion here, but overall the visuals are quite good. Now, this is now dangerous for me because the area itself has actually leveled up. They do continually level up the world around you. That's what I was talking about sort of at the beginning of the game. And you see I'm using my focus to use my skill, and the bow is like an actual skill, is how the arrows work in this game. So you got to get focused in order to use it. It's not just like a weapon you spam. I use my katana, then I swap to the bow. And so these guys have gotten stronger and stronger. Now he's got enchanted weapons. He's throwing mines or grenades or something here. So these guys are stronger than they were at the start of the game, but this is sort of a starting area. So you are going to be going back to the places that you're very familiar with over and over again, but they will be changed because of the difficulty of which has been continually changed. You can see there I'm life-stealing health, which is quite good. You can get resources there. Not enough space in your inventory. That's another common complaint, is there is inventory limitations. Now, they do give you more inventory as like rewards for like questing and going through the game, etc. However, you can choose to get more inventory, or you can choose to get more ring slots. And the ring slots are always active, meaning it's just passive bonus stats. So I feel like I would be an idiot not to take the ring bonus. So I have no bonus inventory space, plus 5 gear inventory slots. Oh, I get to pick something? Dude, why would I ever pick anything other than rings? So it's like, why would I take, more inventory space for resources when I can literally just make my character passively stronger by taking the ring? So that seemed like a mechanic in which, in my opinion, I would redesign, give you inventory as a reward for quests, in addition to choosing like a main hand or an armor spot or something, because I'm always going to pick the passive bonus of the rings, for instance, over the inventory. It just seems better. Now, there's a system of killing creatures, etc., and then harvesting like their meat and then cooking, for instance. Now, this isn't something that I necessarily minded. Normally in these games like Breath of the Wild, for instance, I don't really like cooking. I don't like going out there and having to make food, etc. But I didn't mind it so much in this game. I felt like I was getting the materials quite common enough that was even stuffing up my inventory. So I was able to make food at a decent enough route. And because I had the vampire powers that allowed me the lifesteal, the crafting of the food mechanic actually wasn't bad in this game. So I could ramble on for a while. I just want this to be like a general blab first impression. So I'm just going to tell you like it is. The game is legitimately fun. All the buddies I have, they've been playing the game as well. And a lot of us got sponsored to stream it. But, I got sponsored for like another 4 hours today, for instance, but I ended up playing at 10 to give you an idea. And part of it was to make this video. But I legitimately like the game. And if I didn't like the game, normally if these sponsors, what I do after the first 4 hours or whatever I got paid to do, I just turn it off and I would go play something else. But I actually quite liked the game, so I kept playing. I thought the story was decent. It's an action RPG. You're not really playing for the story, but the cutscenes are good and the voice acting was actually very good. So if you're into that sort of thing, it's passable. The world and the environment, A tier, S tier. The combat, for me, feels really good, pretty A tier. I know there's some people were complaining that I only got the one move. Like, I'm just seeing you spam daggers over and over again. And that's more of a min-max DPS thing. My daggers are more of just a spammy type of move. But again, you have to modify your weapons to get the abilities. So I think that half of the game might get lost on some people, that you have to create your abilities and add them onto that. So the combat for me was like a good selling point. The gear isn't so much a massive selling point, it's just a good addition. And then there's some detractors, like there's performance issues for sure. And it's an early access game, so it's not like fully complete. Multiplayer isn't in the game yet. And there's some bugs like the one I showed you where you can just like instantly teleport. So you could accidentally, literally instantly teleport to like the end of the game just by hitting and clicking in on the left stick on the map. So that could be a problem. Overall, if I had to estimate it, you're probably going to be paying about $1 an hour for entertainment. The game is basically $40, rounded up here. There's a discount code through many people, myself included, so you're going to be paying less than that. It does feel like it's going to give me about 30 or 40 hours, and then I'll probably move on and play something else. In terms of, is that worth it? You can decide for yourself. I think you're going to pay about $1 an hour if you enjoy the game. If you play the game and you don't like it right off the get-go, okay, you ain't going to get your $30 or $40, $1 an hour type situation. This might not be the one for you. If you are expecting the Diablo or Path of Exile, this is not for you. If you liked games like Fable or Elden Ring, probably is more for you. In fact, it's more of a mesh of the two. Keep in mind all of these referral links that myself and others have. These are through a third party that generates you a Steam code to your email at a discount. So if you do that, it is non-refundable because you're not purchasing directly through Steam. So at a loss of my own revenue, I would tell you, if you want to play the game and have your 2 hours in order to be able to refund it, purchase it directly through Steam at the higher price in order to test it out. Otherwise, you can get it at a discounted, non-refundable price through the link I will have down below. I just want that to be clear for you. With that being said, thanks for watching the video. That's what I think of it.